This is the third novel in the Thrawn series. Everybody's saying that this is the closeout of a trilogy. I am willing to bet a large sum of Imperial credits that this is not the last Thrawn book we get. This, by far, was my favorite of the Thrawn books so far in canon. I really enjoyed the first one. The second one was all right. I mean, it was okay. But this one was great. This one was at a point. We're at a point now in Thrawn's career with this book that we don't need any more backstory. And we are really getting into the meat and potatoes of who he is. I mean, we even see him use his abilities and his skills in a different way in this book. This book takes place during season 4 of Rebels, when he's not really in the picture for the first half of it. And there's even some references to that season of Rebels, how he's got Harrison Dula captured and whatnot, and on Lothal, those events. And this whole book happens before he shows back up in Rebels. Eli Vanto comes back into this book, who we know went off into the unknown regions at the end of the first novel to be with the Chiss Ascendancy. This novel focuses a lot more on the Chiss Ascendancy, quite a bit actually. And we got some familiar faces in this book as well. Obviously the Emperor is in this novel, but we also got Director Krennic and Tarkin, which, I mean, those two together are a great character dynamic, Tarkin and Krennic. I could watch those two go back and forth in a movie all night, man. I really could. Essentially what this novel is, the basis of the story, is at the beginning of it, we've got the Stardust Project going on with Director Krennic, which we know is the Death Star. And Thrawn has his TIE Defender project going on. And there's only so much funding that the Empire can throw around, so Tarkin suggests that there's a friendly contest between Krennic and Thrawn to see who gets the funding for their project. Now we all know whose project ends up going into mass production. It's the Death Star. But essentially some of the Stardust Project's supply lines are being attacked by these creatures that kind of like Minox. It's like a cousin to the Minox. And the bet is that Thrawn can destroy them and figure out where they're coming from within a week. And if he gets it, if he figures it out, he gets the funding for his TIE Defender project. If he doesn't, Krennic gets it for the Death Star. So during the beginning of this course of events, Thrawn stumbles upon this huge conspiracy going on with supply runs for the Death Star and everything like that. And the Chiss Ascendancy gets brought into it, and the Grisks come back from Thrawn alliances, that, you know, the creatures that Thrawn and Vader were fighting. They come back into it, and it's this huge debacle, right, of insider trading and just treason and all this other stuff. But we see Thrawn do something in this book that I've never seen Thrawn do before. And it even mentions in this book how he doesn't really know what he's doing when it comes to this type of art, and that's music. Thrawn's never really studied music that much. And he has an idea, and I'm not going to ruin it for you, but he has an idea of who's behind everything. And he gets some information on this person and whatnot, and realizes that they don't collect any art. They have no art, and there's no way that he can kind of study what their tactics would be until he finds out he's a musician. And that's what he uses to take down this particular person. Guys, this is a great novel. I had so much fun reading this one. Let me put it in perspective for you. It took me 3 weeks to read Alphabet Squadron. I read Thrawn Treason in 3 days. I could not put it down. Absolutely great story. Absolutely great. Now, what I was talking about at the beginning about how I believe balls to bone that this is not the end of the Thrawn series. I want to say about a year and a half ago, Timothy Zahn was at I think it was Toronto Comic-Con. I want to say it was Toronto Comic-Con. And he made the comment that he had an idea for a fourth story, and it was the Thrawn Ezra story from the end of Rebels. Which, obviously, if there's another Thrawn novel, that has to be the story because of the way this one leads up to Rebels, you know, to his reappearance in Season 4. So that would naturally be the next step in this story. He said he's interested in that story. He has an idea for it. He has a pitch for it. And there's certain lines at the end of this book, and I'm not going to ruin it for you, but there's certain lines at the end of this book that lead me to believe that he has been given the go-ahead to write another Thrawn novel a year from now. I mean, to have another one release a year from now. Because it's hard to believe, but it's been 2 years since the first Thrawn novel came out. And then a year ago since Thrawn Alliances came out. And now this one's out. You wait another year, you're going to get Thrawn, whatever the fourth story is. Whatever the title's going to be. With Ezra. Ezra is specifically mentioned in this book by the Emperor, of all people. And there's some talk back and forth. I've been saying for a long time, and I mean a long time, that Thrawn had something, had everything to do with the rise of the First Order. And I'm convinced, balls to bone, after reading this book, he did. Some of the things the Emperor wanted to talk about, some of the things the Emperor said to him. I mean, it's this. You guys have got to read this book because there are some serious hints dropped toward the end of this that shows this is not the end of the Thrawn series. It's just not the end of it. So, Thrawn Treason, guys, by far my favorite of the Thrawn novels so far. Definitely hoping they come out with a fourth, and definitely looking forward to it if they do a fourth. But if you're one of these people, and I've seen people online say they love the first Thrawn book, and then they kind of fell out of it with the second one because of the time jumps between Vader and Thrawn and Anakin and Thrawn and whatnot. I get it. That one was a little rough. This one makes up for. This one is as good as both of those books combined. This is an absolute. This is back to pure Thrawn. We skip the origin story, jump right into where he's at in his life and his career. Boom, here we go. Hit the ground running. And you guys are really, really going to enjoy that novel. So if you guys have read it, let me know in the comment section what you guys thought of it. No spoilers for those of you, for those who haven't read it, because there are some spoilers in this book. There's definitely some spoilery stuff in this book. So definitely let me know, guys. What did you think of this book? All right.